Hey, welcome to the third and final live stream for September and the last live stream for Big Surly. Wrapping up 3 months working on this walking bass tune. And so today we're really just looking at the B section, the bridge. And the tune is really basically complete without this section. So this is more for anybody who just wants to make the tune harder, basically. If you want additional material to play on the tune, it's a contrasting section. And so you could add this into the arrangement. It works perfectly well, I think, without it. But I was already sort of thinking a little bit about, well, you know, if you wanted to make the tune a little more colorful, or if you were, before we even had this whole conversation about like, well, the song lasts for 3 whole months, this is a way to sort of add onto the tune, turn it into more of a 2-part, I guess it's now a 3-part tune. It's got the A section and the B section, and you could add this in as a kind of C section if you wanted to. So we covered almost all the other arranging material over the last 2 streams. So I'm just going to go through the bridge in a little more detail, take it apart, put it back together, talk about where it belongs in the arrangement. And then if there's questions or other things you want to go over from the preceding month or months, we can do that. And if not, then everybody can get out of class early to enjoy the beautiful afternoon. Okay, voice is a bit low, guitar is fine. All right, let me see what I can do here. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Hey. All right, that's a little more volume on the vocal mic. All right. Okay, so let me pull this up. If you don't have the tab, you know where it is. So here is this bridge section. Let me play through it slowly. Oh, where the coda? Yeah, I can talk about the coda too. Remind me about that. Again, just to go through it slowly, this is what the bridge sounds like. 2, 3, 4. So if we look at look at the form and the chord progression. So it's 1 2 3. Oh, it's 10 bars. That's kind of funny. I hadn't even noticed. Okay, so we start off with this. So it's going to it's changing keys a little bit. We're in E. We're starting off here on C sharp minor. That's the 6th chord in the key of E. And then going to F sharp 7. F sharp 7 is not in the key of E. F sharp minor is, but not F sharp 7. So basically, this C sharp chord to F sharp, we're hearing that twice in the first 4 bars. The F sharp is really there to take you to B minor. And then we have the same kind of motion, B minor to E7. That E7 is the 5 of A minor. Then the A minor is going to D7, and then F sharp minor is going to B7, where we're just sitting and pedaling on the B chord, and then playing the pickup back into the tune. Now if we work backwards, just to understand why this chord progression works, B7 is the 5 of E, no problem. F sharp minor 7 flat 5, is kind of like it's imagining that we're going to like E minor basically, but it's sort of like an altered kind of 2 chord. So that's 2 to 5 to 1. And I'm just laying out the chord progression just to kind of understand like what is going on with the harmonies so that it kind of makes sense why you're playing what you're playing. So again, continuing to work backwards. B7 is the 5 of E. F sharp is basically the 2 of E, so 2 to 5 to 1. A minor to D. The D7 is the 5 of G, which we never really see. So this is kind of doesn't really have a purpose, I have to admit. It sounds cool, but it doesn't really resolve where you would think it would. But working backwards from the A minor, everything makes sense. E7 is there because it's the 5 of A minor. B minor is there because it's 2 to 5 to 1 of A minor. And F sharp is there because it's 5 to the B minor. And the C sharp minor is there because that makes for a 2 to 5 to B minor. So this A minor 7 to D7 is kind of a 2-5 to nowhere. It goes A minor to D7 and it never gets to the place it's trying to resolve to, which is G. But then you get this kind of parallel 2-5, right? F sharp to B. So it's kind of the strength of hearing something similar but in a different place that kind of makes the A minor to D7 work. It's a bit of a cheat, but you hear it all the time and it kind of gets the job done. So that's what we're doing. And then we have this bass line. So going back to the top of the tune, C minor to F sharp we have this. That's what's happening in the beginning of the section. So this is walking down from B, just playing chord tones of B, right? I'm sorry, of C sharp. This is the root, the flat 7, and the 5 of C minor. So it's just a walking bass line, which then is moving by a little chromatic half step to F sharp. So, and that happens twice. And in between, we walk back up from F sharp. So that's just echoing the bass line from the A section, right? Except now we're doing it on an F sharp. Root, 2, flat 3, and 3. So walking down on C sharp, walking up on F sharp, and we do it again. This is bar 3, this is bar 4. Then we do the exact same thing down a whole step. B minor walks down, root, flat 7, 5, all chord tones, and then steps chromatically into the E, which, hey, there's our bass line. You'd never recognize it, would you? But there it is from the A section again. And then here we just have some stops, A minor to D, so just root of A minor to D, and then the root of F sharp to B7. And then finally we end with our B7 walk down that again is from the end of the B section of the tune, right? So there's the whole bass line. It sounds like this. A, then to B minor, walk up on E. So, just doing a little horizontal 3-step, right? Let's break out the bass line and see what it's doing. That's what's happening. And then on top, we have this melody. Whoops, gotta play it right. So that's a melody on C minor. But you can see it's just kind of using scale steps. You could think of that as basically playing, walking down in B minor, and then playing chord tones of F sharp. Here's the 3rd, and there's the flat 7. And then we're going to do the same thing on the B minor. There's the flat 3rd, 2nd, and root of B. And there's the third and the root of E. And then on the A minor, we're going to play, again, flat third, second to root, and then to the root of D. And then we're going to flip those around and play flat third, 4, flat 5 of the F sharp, and B7. So really just 4 phrases, right? Followed by, and then same thing down a whole step, and then 2 little phrases. So then the thing is just, well, let's put them together. Oops. Then it's just walking up the bass with nothing else to do, and then repeat that. And again, just the bass. Same thing down the whole step. We have more open strings this time, yay. And now on the A minor, going, and then walking down. So that opening section, it's just playing a bunch of big intervals. And it's a little syncopated, but if you can basically play that one, and that one, and that one, and that one, so it's just a series of, I guess those are tenths, right? Like playing Blackbird, basically. And then you go to B minor. And then so when you syncopate, so that's the whole thing. That is the B section. So if you're coming from that's where it fits in. And I just did a little walk up to the C sharp minor. Okay, so that's the idea. I'm curious if anybody's already taken a look at this, or I think someone might have posted a little bit of it on the forum. But that's basically what's going on. If it needs more of an explanation, or if you've looked at it already and there's bits of it that you have questions about, ask away. I'm happy to talk about that more. But that's really the breakdown of what's going on. So I can come back to anything from that you want to talk about. Let's see. Oh, here's some good questions from Larry. When you say the bridge is optional for the B section, how would you complete the last 8 bars if one used the shout chorus stop time we did last time? The shout chorus stop time we did last week, that was the first 8 bars without using the bridge. Oh, yeah, okay. Let's see. So you'd have the stop time goes into the... I'm sorry. I kind of misspoke. The bridge is optional for it's like a C section. If we think of the A section as the 8-bar vamp on E, right? And just the repetition of this bass line. And then the B section being the A chord, that part played twice. So this is really, I really should have called it a C section, and I will issue a retraction in the tab. So really this would come after you've done the, if you've done the shout chorus is a swap in for the A section. So, to the B section, meaning the A chord to the B chord to the E chord. Right? And so then when you finish that B section, then you would go to this bridge, which really is a C. So my brain got I was thinking of the main tune I break up in my head into A section, B section, first 8 bars, second 8 bars. When I was writing out this bridge, I somehow was thinking like, oh yeah, there's like a tune, and then we're having like this other section that's, I don't know, it's a semantic thing. It should be called the C section, and I'll try to just remake that in the tab and repost it. So I'm sorry for the confusion. It's a good question. Why the different tab for the same notes in the first and third bar? I'm not sure if I've jotted that out on purpose or if I was just trying to show that there's more than one way to do it. Sometimes when I'm writing stuff out, I'm like, well, we could do this. That's kind of a good shape to know. And then, so you can kind of choose which one you want to do. I've kind of probably just failed to decide in the moment. I was thinking, let's show both of them because they're both cool ways to do it. So either one is good. Blake. Oh yeah, you had a question about, so I would definitely want to add this. We'll probably skip the coda, but would like to understand where it goes. Yes, absolutely. Okay, and then some questions about the bridge itself, which I'll get to in just a second from Daniel and Monty. Let me answer those questions first, and then we'll go back and look at let me answer these questions since we're here on the B section. And then we'll go back and look at the coda. So from Monty, intrigued by the bridge's 9.5 measures. Any insights? And that sort of goes with Daniel's question: where does this bridge idea come from? Sounds surprising and lyric, kind of. Well, the main sections are very much just 1, 4, and 5. So I thought it would be kind of cool. A bridge really musically, I think, should kind of take you outside should offer some kind of different perspective on the song, right? So this is all very bluesy. So the idea of traveling elsewhere, but still keeping the walking bass, right? I mean, that mirrors the feel. Right? So it's taking that same feel, but migrating to these different colors. And it's kind of a typical bridge thing to sort of go to change keys, basically. I mean, this is really taking us over to something like B. And then when it keeps going, here's E again, but it's E on the way somewhere else. So really, I just got the idea of starting from C sharp because that's the relative minor of E, and then just watched the chords kind of get me in trouble, and then tried to figure out how to get out of that trouble. Really, I mean, the reason you have this A minor is if you look at the chords up here, right, C sharp to E, C sharp to F sharp, B minor to E, A minor to D. It's really just a sequence. It's the same thing over and over again. I mean, it's really doing the same thing 3 times. But then you've got to get back to home because you've run out of time because your 8 bars are almost up. And so then it's just kind of like, okay, how elegantly can we just kind of finesse our way to the 5 chord of E? And that's really what's happening. So here's being elsewhere, and then bringing it down a whole step, and then one more time. And these notes, the A minor and the F sharp share these notes, so you can have this kind of musical dovetailing where you get, it could have just been, but it sounded more resolved to me to do it like that, and then you're home. So that's kind of where that comes from, and the idea of doing something that feels a little less bluesy but still has the walking bass line to kind of stitch the whole thing together. So the 9.5 measures, let's see. So this is really the first half, playing this twice, and then the second half of the bridge, changing keys. That is a half measure, isn't that? I put that in there, 2/4, back to 4/4. Yeah, so I mean, I wanted to have that pause to walk back down. So I guess it could have, if it was going to be a more regular, like 8-bar thing, we'd have the second line would start off on B minor. Right? Just. That felt rushed, so I just kind of dragged it out. And then made this the start of the downbeat. So you have this time to hang on the B and then kick off into the tune again. I didn't really set out to make something weird and irregular. Again, it was just kind of like following the internal logic of what I had so far and then figuring out a way to kind of back into the A section again. And sometimes it just, that felt like the landing spot, you know. Oh, this really feels like this is where we should like start that vamp. So it's serving a function, which is to kind of just reset the table like after you've kind of scrambled things with these weird 2 5s. So that's kind of what that's about. I didn't know that I had an inclination for these kind of odd bars and half bars and stuff until I took some of my songs to a rehearsal and things that I'd played by myself for a while, and then found out that they had these funny moments in them. And I felt simultaneously kind of sheepish and pretty excellent, sheepish because I was like, I didn't know I had weird bars. I wasn't trying to make things difficult for the rhythm section. But then I also felt kind of cool. I'm like, oh, I'm like one of those old school blues guys who just goes where he goes when he wants to go there, and it comes out in this weird number of half measures, and awesome, you know. So that was kind of a funny thing to discover. So usually I tend to keep things pretty regular, but this one came out funny. So let me go back and just talk about the vamp / coda. So 1, 2, 3. right? And there's that same, very similar kind of thing at the end there, F sharp minor to B7. So this would go, I just felt like it needed some punctuation at the end of the second section of the tune. So... Again, I just thought it sounded cool. Like I didn't even come up with this until we'd been working on this song for a few weeks. And I kept playing the song and thinking, God, it needs something kind of just to announce that we're going, because the melody's kind of solo-y. It's a little bit like one of those old bebop tunes where it's like, is this the solo or is this the tune? The only reason you know it's a melody is because it's being played by two instruments at once, right? Like I've been going back and listening to these, like some of those original Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie tunes, and they sound like improvisations, but they're playing, alto and trumpet in unison, and it's the beginning of the song, so you know it's the tune because it's not one guy, it's two guys playing together. So this melody, it could be the solo, right? So I wanted to do something to set off the melody before you actually go and improvise. So when you come around the second time, something that's obviously arranged. Playing it all too fast, but the idea that it's octaves, it's hits, it's like it's sculpted, it's almost like a little shout thing, but it's an arrangement, it's a little moment that's outside the tune. It's an arranging feature that kind of says the main tune's over, here's the thing we're going to do, and then we're going to come back in, and this is when we're going to start the melody. And again, it's the kind of thing, again, borrowing from jazz arranging. It's the kind of thing you'd hear on like a Horace Silver song or something, where like you hear the tune and then they play this like cool little ensemble figure that's clearly been worked out, but it serves as a kind of punctuation. And you might even hear it in between I'm trying to think of a song at the same time that I'm trying to talk. You might even hear it in between soloists, like there's that Dexter Gordon Blues Society Red, and they do a figure at the end of the head, at the end of the melody. And then after Freddie Hubbard's solo, they cue like this 4-bar figure that's the end of the melody, and they play it together. This and that kind of cues Dexter Gordon to start his solo. So they have this arranged moment in the middle of the tune. And so, if you were going to take more than one chorus on this tune, then you could finish your solo's first chorus. Do it once and then start on your next chorus. Just some punctuation. And again, all of this is like details that you don't need to do to play the song. If you're just working on playing through the fundamental or the fundamentally embellished, you don't have to add in the coda. You don't have to add in the bridge. But again, I was trying to think in terms of how to sort of provide some extra heft to the tune if you needed more to work on. So that's kind of everything I came to talk about. I'm looking through to see if there's any other questions. If you've got them, I am happy to talk about them. Let's see. We talked about the coda, and we talked about the bridge, and we talked about the tab. We talked about the weird timing. I think that's everything. So let me just pause here and see if there's anything else we need to discuss about this tune. This is really pretty tricked out for I don't always, some of the other tunes that I've written for here don't always have this much detail, but I really like the walking bass sound, and it seemed like it would be fun to kind of keep adding these little extra elements to it. So, we've got the vamp that you can improvise on. There's really a lot of different things going on. It's making me kind of want to go back to some other tunes of my own and see what I can do to kind of add some of this detail to it as well, whether they're tunes that we've done here or not. From Blake, can you give a preview of Key to the Highway? I certainly can. So we're going to do Key to the Highway in E. And as I mentioned, if anybody came to, I know some of you did, in the YouTube live stream this morning, like I had to go back and relearn this melody. I had basically the wrong melody stuck in my head for a really long time. I went back and listened to several people, none of whom sing it exactly the same, but I tried to kind of collate what they do and figure out what the most common, what I'll do a lot with these kinds of tunes is trying to figure out what the signature melodic moments are. Like, there's a way that most people sing the third phrase of the melody. But I think Little Walter goes all the way up to the octave and starts it up there. But most people don't. So I was like, okay, Little Walter, you can have that note. The rest of us are going to do it down here. And it's also tricky because a lot of singers will kind of elide those last couple of notes. So they'll like sort of bend that note all the way down to the root, which is not something you can really, it's not a very guitaristic thing to do. So in terms of thinking about how to make this a guitar melody, I had to do a little bit of, figure out what works the best. But basically, we're going to use this in part to look again, we've done it before, at playing a melody with sixths and playing a melody with chord shapes. So, and I went into a lot of, 1, 6, 2, 5 chord substitutions, like sort of trying to make the tune jazzier with some of the other blues tunes we've done, like You Got to Move, where I kind of took some of those Rosetta Tharpe moves to make it jazzier. And on Trouble in Mind, because a lot of Western swing guys play that one, and a lot of early jazz people played it. This one I tried to really just kind of keep it in more of a blues pocket and not go crazy with the chord changes. But I did want to have some bass motion, not full on walking bass, but kind of a half walking bass, where like for the second half of the measure, you might do some bass moves. And obviously this would be like one of the embellished things to do. And the bass moves when the melody is not moving as much. So I can't remember if the bass gets quite that busy and triplety or not in the embellished, but that's the idea, is to be able to have some harmonization, some chord harmonization, and, kind of doing a steady bass, but showing how to move the bass some, kind of like we did a while back, almost maybe 2 years now, with the Rosedale, the 9 variations on Rosedale Shuffle. Wanted to show how to sort of develop the bass line so that you could have the satisfaction of playing like a really traditional 3-chord 8-bar blues, but also still have some bass motion going on as well. So that's a bit of what's coming. Couple questions. Joel, hey Joel, can you play the coda again a little more slowly? Absolutely. So 1, 2, 3. So the thing is that it's basically all the anticipations that make it tricky. At its heart, it is just right. So just a bunch of octaves and fifths. There's the E chord. There's the D chord. There's the A chord. There's the, I think it's kind of like a G6, or it's an E minor with the third in the bass. And then these are more like hits. But once you syncopate them, so it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so all the stuff on the ands. Like that. So if you start off with put that, you can move everything up by an eighth note. Like that. So let me know if that helps, or if I need to break it down further. Jim, Big Surly was a lot of info to digest during the summer months. Yeah. Agreed. I really debated about how to handle the summer this year, whether to make it like sort of a one-off kind of thing, like here's a tune just to do in July, or, whether to do like sort of some optional stuff over the summer. And in the end, I decided just to forge ahead. So that's what happened. I thought, well, this will be fun anyway, because it's different and it's interesting, and maybe people will enjoy it. And by and large, I think the tune has been fun to work on for a lot of folks, but I do realize it's kind of a challenging tune. So we're going to go traditional in the fall. And to be perfectly honest, one reason that I continue to gravitate towards the 3-month strategy is it makes it much easier to plan the year and just go, okay, we're going to, in these 3-month increments, it helps me just organize things as far as it's still the same amount of work, but it helps me to organize the balance of traditional and original material, or contemporary material, if you want to call it. If we do 4 a year, then I'm not left thinking like, oh, well, does this one need a month? Can we do this one in a month, or is this too hard? Everything kind of gets the same amount of time, and I can get into a certain amount of detail with the tune. And it helps me calculate the balance of keys and the balance of steady bass versus alternating thumb and the balance of traditional versus contemporary. So that's part of it. And it just sort of, it smooths out the production schedule on my end. So I just know, oh yeah, I've got to get this done by this time and that done by this time, because it's always kind of the same amount of time for each cycle. That said, the best solution for I like the 1 month people, seems to be to add in some additional material midway through the quarter, not tricked out to the same amount of detail, but more just like, here's a tune, it's 12 or 16 or 32 bars, and let me play through it, and here's the tab for it, and it's kind of it's sort of a middleweight embellished version, and it'll give everybody who wants it some additional repertoire. So that's the way that I'm leaning. We'll try it for a couple of quarters and see what happens. So I'm shooting for midway through this fall, when we're partway through Key to the Highway, just providing short videos and tab for another tune to work on, and just as an optional piece of repertoire without necessarily going through all the motions with all the live streams and all the extra details. Yes, Mid Surly in 2025. I had the title Big Surly first, of course, from Big Sur, but the tune that we first did that I called Little Surly just didn't seem to have the scope and gravitas that merited Big Surly, so that one got called Little Surly, but that left the title Big Surly kind of kicking around. This arrangement seems to have earned its bigness. So yeah. So the plan is to do, we'll do Key to the Highway. That's definitely happening in October. And then we'll do improvisation and arranging for Key to the Highway over the next couple months. And then really it'll just be like a drop, like here's sort of I guess I'm aiming for like mid-November to say, here's another tune, here's an arrangement basically. So like, kind of the way that we did a song like Mule Shoe Getaway or Parisian Blues, or it doesn't have to be one of my tunes, it might be an arrangement, but basically just to say, here's the tune, it's 32 bars, here's the tab, you can work on it, here it is, I'll play it slowly and up to tempo and, have at it. But meanwhile, we'll just keep working on Key to the Highway for the 3 months as well. So it'll be optional. I just cannot say the word optional enough today. I don't want anybody to feel like now you have to try to learn this other piece of repertoire as well. It is literally going in there for anybody who feels like they want more to chew on during the 3 months. So that's the plan. Okay. Well, thank you, Johnny. Appreciate that coming from a licensed pedagogue like yourself. That's all I got. I'm happy to stay here and chat if you've got other things on your mind or continue to have other questions. But that is pretty much the wraps on Big Surly, and we'll have, what is this? This is the 19th. Let me look at the calendar and let you know when I'll post a schedule. I mean, I have it kind of spec'd out, but I'll post a schedule for next month as soon as possible. So I can tell you this, that we're actually going to have the first live stream of October on a Wednesday, Wednesday the 2nd. And then we'll follow that with October 10th and October 17th. So back on Thursdays for the most part, but Thursday, the 3rd is a Jewish holiday. It's Rosh Hashanah. So we're going to do it on Wednesday instead. the 2nd. And then after that, it'll be Thursdays for the month. Trying to keep it as much as possible on a regular schedule, because I know that was another thing that kind of messed people up over the summer. But I just plead the summertime defense that my kids are in high school, and one of them is applying to colleges this year, and it is, there's more to do and more places to be and more things to show up for than there were when they were, 2 and 3 years old, which is kind of making my head explode. But so I got to work around those things to some extent, but I try to be as punctual and regular with the schedule as possible. That's my main motivation in life, is just to make sure that I show up here when I'm supposed to. So, and I appreciate all of you showing up as well. And for those of you who came to the live stream this morning, as you know, there's one more on Saturday, and anybody who hasn't been coming to those is more than welcome to. This Saturday, we're going to be going over, again, it's stuff you guys all know, but anybody who wants to just kind of visit and regroup with that stuff, I'm going over some of the material from How Long Blues again. And on Saturday, I'll be talking a bit about the embellishments again, how to add bass lines and triplets and chord voicings to the tune, and just talking about arranging in general and how that relates to the groove. So feel free to come by to that if you want to. And I could play through the tune one more time, or I could play through, why don't I play through some Key to the Highway? Let's look forward. I don't know if I have an intro for this yet, but let's see. right. Key to the Highway coming up. Thanks for being here, everybody. I will see you on the forum, and we're beta testing the forum right now. I've got a few people in there just kind of poking around with a new forum that I set up on a new platform. Not sure if this is the winner or not, but I'll keep you posted on that. And see you on the current forum, and maybe this Saturday, and definitely at the beginning of